Happy Tuesday, English 110. Professor Colleen Sasso. I wanted to check in with you this week to talk about kind of the end of the semester because we're really moving in that direction. And I want to make sure everybody's clear with what we need to get accomplished. So if you look at the week 12 module or module 12, it gives you kind of an outline of what the rest of the semester is going to look like. And really what we're doing is that if you've written all the way through Essay 3, we're going to try to combine all of those pieces together. So Essay 1 through Essay 3, we're supposed to build the different sections of your integrated research paper. So we've looked at one topic, we've told your audience what the conflict is, we've examined both sides, we've looked at the consequences if each side gets what they want, and now we have to draw a conclusion. So that's the last piece of the puzzle for this research paper, is now that you've looked at all of this objectively, what conclusion do you draw? And this is the moment where you're being persuasive. It doesn't mean you're saying, in my opinion, or I think, we're still using academic language, but it's persuasive in that you're offering something now. You're giving a solution, or you're offering a compromise, or you're saying this might need to be done in terms of, bringing this conflict to some type of resolution now that you've been able to look at it. So next week we're going to draft what that looks like. It's a little bit of a shorter essay, and it's the conclusion of your research paper, and it offers a resolution to this thing you've been working on. So there's a planning sheet in week 12 or module 12 that helps you start to think through some of that. So you look at, okay, here are the major points from both sides, and now how can they meet in the middle? How can we find some resolution? How can we reconcile some of these differences? And that's what your last section is going to be on. The other thing I've asked you to do, and for some of you, this hopefully makes you feel pretty good, is that you take your fully revised Essay 1 and Essay 2, and whatever you have at this point for Essay 3, and you put them all in one Word document. Take the headings off. You can keep the heading on the first page, but make it begin to look like a full essay or document. Because once we do that, I think it's easier for us to begin to say, how do we conclude this thing? What have we discovered? What still needs to be revised? So even though you've written all the way through Essay 3, you might need to still go back, now that it's a whole document, and revise it as a whole document. So that's what we're going to work on in the next couple of weeks. What's great is that if you've stayed, pretty much caught up with which a good majority of you have really just a draft that you can start revising now. So I also said, include everything that you've used for research so far. Put that in your works cited at the end of this whole document, so you can kind of see what your sources have been. You might have to go back to some of them to decide what the solution or conclusion is. Okay, so those are two big things. You're going to do the planning sheet for Essay 4, where you begin to draw some conclusions, and then you're going to put your whole essay together. You're also going to do a peer review for Essay 3, so it's important that you get Essay 3 drafted, which I know it's been a long semester. There's been a lot of papers. There's been a lot of research. But Essay 3, it's important that we look at. Essay 3 is all about your thesis statement being about, okay, this side wants this side wants this, and now let's look at what would happen if they get it. And it's about consequences, and as I said before, consequences aren't always negative. I encourage you to find a positive and a negative consequence for each. And consequence just means this will happen as a result of. Okay? So that's, every essay has clear body points to it. This particular essay is, you're shaping those body points by, here's a consequence if side 1 gets what they want. Here's another consequence if side 1 gets what it wants. Okay, this is what side 2 wants. Well, here's a consequence for that, right? The papers begin to construct themselves, and I know the hard part is doing the writing in between that construction. And that's what I want to say really briefly about Essay 2. I started grading those revisions. I'm almost through everybody's. And the thing that I continue to see in revisions that is essential that we get right before we leave College Comp 1, and I know I've dragged you through this class about it, paragraph building is essential. Topic sentences have to tell us what that paragraph's about. They need to make a point. In Essay 2, it was about one side believes that whatever their major argument. The other side believes this other major argument. They need to be supported by research. There needs to be 2 citations per paragraph at least. Those citations need to be cited in correct MLA, which means where you put those punctuation marks. It's quotes, parentheses, whatever goes in the parentheses is an author, an article, or a website, and the period goes at the end of the sentence. I cannot encourage you enough to print out that short essay guide. I put it under every module. It shows you how to do your in-text citations. It reminds you what has to be in a body paragraph. It shows you how to set up a works cited. It tells you what needs to be in a heading. It is like your essay deconstructed. And to not have that next to you, you're going to continue to have the same issues that I keep writing back to you when you get your grades. If you're continuing to receive grades lower than a 75, that means some of these essential parts, like having in-text citations done correctly, having 2 citations per paragraph, having a topic sentence, formatting your works cited sheet correctly, are not right yet. And before the end of the class, they have to be right. C means that you've met the requirements of the class, and those are the requirements of the class, that you've been able to develop a thesis, construct main points. Those main points are supported by research. That research is cited correctly. And some of you are probably like, oh, we're doing this again and again, and it is. It's a repetitive skill that if you learn it here, you're going to take it on to every other class you have to write an essay in. You'll understand how to construct it. You'll know how to do your in-text citations. You'll know what a works cited sheet looks like. The other big piece about this class is learning the research process, and I can't tell you enough how good your research exercises have been in this class. You have navigated databases all the way from what I consider the simplest, which is Credo Reference and CQ Researcher, way back at the beginning, to Academic Search Premier and ProQuest. I was so impressed with your research exercises in those databases. Those are difficult databases to navigate, and you did it. And I hope you won't shy away from using those databases in other classes. English 110 is about exposing you to these resources that you have, and I hope you'll use them again. So, Essay 2, again, I'll take revisions of any essay. I need it, a couple of weeks after the essay is done. So if you're working on a revision for Essay 2, start working on it right away. And Essay 3 revisions we'll work on next week. We'll draft Essay 4 as kind of part of bringing it all together. And then we'll just really be working on the full draft. And that's it. Turning in the final integrated research essay is the last thing that you do in the class. So let me know. This is a time when it's really important that I give you as much support as possible. I have office hours. I'm willing to talk to you over the phone. I can set up time if office hours don't work for you, but just make sure you're using all your resources to finish the class. All right, let me know if you need anything from me, and I look forward to seeing the work that you do in week 12. Okay, thanks all.